Here we are.
Oh, welcome everybody to Radpod and Not So Chill, the fascist edition number 3. I'm Heidi Kuda. I'm here with Jim Stewartson and High Fidelity. We interviewed our friend Keir Giles today on Who Will Defend Europe. We're going to be showing you some highlights from episode 118. And as those who've been watching us for a long time know, I'm an optimist, happy person, and optimist. I'm always looking for the goodness, not only in
Yeah, me too.
humanity, not only in humanity, but where we can point people toward action, where we can point people toward the good. But there's just been a lot of bleak. And today, when we found out that Brazil was prosecuting Bolsonaro for essentially doing, the replication of, what Trump did in 2021, January 6th, I just was like, why can't we do that? What is wrong with us? And Jim, let's start there. It's like France is prosecuting Pavel Durov from Telegram. They're prosecuting Le Pen and trying to make it impossible for her to run because they know that she's a, corrupt Putinist. Brazil prosecuting Bolsonaro. What the fuck?
Actually, I gotta clarify something real quick. The reason Bolsonaro was indicted and arrested in Brazil today is because supposedly he had knowledge of the coup d'etat plot by multiple police officers to kill the current president Lula. So it wasn't for the January, whatever it was, 11th or 8th, whatever day it was. No, it was for they were going to kill the president. That's why.
Well, the parallels are so obvious. I don't need to repeat what Trump had.
But I mean, but that's
it's the same story. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's an important difference because that was the ruler being threatened themselves as opposed to trying to get justice for something he already did, which was a different coup d'etat. And let's be super clear, he did. And the only reason why he was free to attempt to assassinate the current president is because they didn't bring him to justice. I would like to. So we had good news, bad news. I don't even know what to call it. Matt Gaetz is not going to be the attorney general. So
hooray! No pedophiles.
Well,
not so fast.
But here's the thing. The only fucking reason why Matt Gaetz is free is even remotely available for this situation is because the Justice Department didn't fucking put him in jail despite the most extensive, blatant, well-documented fucking sex trafficking, child rape, criminal behavior that you can imagine. I'm trying to imagine any one of us, any normal person who has a chart. And if you see this fucking thing, it's like a spider web to all the fucking teenagers that they were trafficking across state lines. Like a huge spider web of fucking Venmo transactions.
Right.
PayPal transactions. The dude did it. There are multiple eyewitnesses to his child rape. And our fucking Justice Department did nothing. They declined.
I don't understand.
Right? Joel Greenberg, the dickhead that was doing it with him, is in jail for 11 years, despite the fact that he cooperated against Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
It's fucking corruption is what it is.
Right.
Let's just stop pussyfooting around with all of I know for years and years they're all the DOJ defenders and Merrick's not so bad and Jack Mueller 2.0. Fuck off, man.
Right.
This shit was corrupt from the get-go.
Right.
And this administration, frankly, was either just negligent in not seeing what was happening and fucking doing something about it, or complicit themselves.
Well,
And I have no, I'm sorry, but Matt fucking Gaetz almost becoming attorney general, and Hunter Biden was a drug addict who was late on his taxes, paid them off, and lied on a gun application, which
right.
happens all day, every day, thousands of times across America. And
Right.
we assigned a fucking task force to this guy, right? And Matt Gaetz, pedophile, is running around trying to be attorney general and maybe senator from Florida. So I'm sorry, but I promised people I was going to be shaking my fist at this guy. This is just disgusting. All of it. It infuriates me. Let me land on this image. I was thinking about this. The Biden administration has been like being on a fucking boat, right, in the Amazon, and there's a giant ass waterfall coming, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, all the passengers on board are like, motherfucker, there's a waterfall coming. And the captain's like, I'm tuning up the engine. This engine's going to be real good. You bet you wait for the next captain. The engine's going to be great. Everybody's like, what the fuck? And the crew is running around like, can I refresh your drink? It's like being in a fucking alternate reality. And yes, I'm a little beside myself, and I will try and calm.
Understandably so. So two things from me. One is that Hunter Biden's attacks were information war. It was a way to disgrace his father. He was not a congressman, nor was he Secretary of State, nor was he vice president, nor was he running for anything. It was literally a way to radicalize people against Joe Biden, and it was a very successful operation, particularly targeting older people who don't know who Jared Kushner is, but were on Hunter Biden watch for years because of the salaciousness of it. And we're going to talk a bit about information warfare when we show clips from episode 118 with Keir. The reason I drew the parallels between Bolsonaro and Trump were because we know from recent documents, and we know from reporting from the last 3 years, that Trump did not care if Mike Pence died, and that Trump actually ginned up violence toward Mike Pence. And we have documentation of this when he was informed that Pence was in danger, where he just didn't care. So for me, the parallels between the viciousness, the violence, the corruption, the power at any cost is quite stark. And at least there are countries that are saying, we are not going to participate in this. And those countries are actually, in my mind, certainly, I keep turning to France, because at least France was willing to say, we're going to arrest the billionaire tech oligarch. And because there are crimes being committed on the platform that he is the CEO of. And for me, that's like, when that happened, you saw all of the broligarchs, or brozillas, as I'm calling them now. You saw them all kind of in a panic. They're like, oh, look at this censorship over here. It's like, it's not censorship. It's literally crimes occurring, money laundering, human trafficking, arms dealing on these platforms, or throwing elections for the Putinists in America to take over our country and demolish it. And I think maybe, I know we've been doing this work for many years, but maybe there's just a part of me that's like, are we really going out like this? This is really it? Your analogy, Jim, of looking down and seeing, the edge of the water and going down in that boat. Like, is this really how America ends? And we've been reporting and we've been warning, but it's like, to me, it's like, can this really be what happens? And I just, again, knowing that Trump didn't get a majority, less than 32% of all eligible voters, that's not a majority. What are the tens of millions of people doing who would like democratic governance to continue? Are they just paralyzed in their homes, waiting for the worst to happen? I just feel like we got to be able to do better. Like
they don't know. They don't know. And the problem, I'm sorry, it comes back to our captured media, right? I mean, think about social media, almost entirely captured by fucking fascist oligarchs, right? Our corporate media, also almost entirely captured by fascist oligarchs. Here is the fundamental lie of is that all of it's a lie. Half the people in the country, or voters, almost half the voters, voted for Donald Trump because of lies. Period. End of story, right? There is no rational world in which of the candidates you would pick a demented fascist rapist if you weren't being lied to over and over and over and over again. It's illogical. It's irrational. It makes no sense. But we have been accustomed to think that, oh well, no, actually, we don't know how to talk to them. I wrote an article today about this sort of like deep desire of Democrats to just say, oh, we just don't know how to talk to them right, or or to blame ourselves, right? To say, oh, we did this to ourselves. The fuck we did. It is not your fault. It is not my fault. It is foreign oligarchs and domestic terrorists. It's their fault. Every single person in MAGA or QAnon or any of this other shit has been systematically lied to for years, which has changed their brain. That's an attack. It's an attack on America. And the absolute utter failure of our corporate media, of our government, of anybody to educate people, to just tell people what the fuck is happening to their loved ones, to their friends, to their neighbors. What's happening to these people? Why are they so nuts? Why are these crazy people in charge of our government now? Because they're brainwashed. Psychological warfare is the invisible thing that nobody wants to talk about. And it's the thing that took us down. And the absolute only way we are ever going to get out of this mess is if we can get enough people to actually understand what it is, actually fight back against the cause of it, right, the source of it, instead of worrying about all the symptoms, because the symptoms will never go away. Right. They will continue to get worse as long as we are poisoning people's minds.
Absolutely. And as you've been speaking, I kept thinking to myself, why have we done nothing? Why have we done nothing when our show and Dr. Hassan and so many of our allies have been writing about this for years, reporting on this for years? So many people we interviewed all over the world have written books and, reports for NATO, as our friend Keir did. And I think in America, just like our First Amendment was weaponized, our Second Amendment was weaponized in a way that it was never meant to be, interpreted. Our First Amendment has been like this thing that just, anytime it's brought up, it's like censorship. And it's not the case anymore. We know that foreign covert influence activities, any influence activities, are not journalism, according to the State Department. So therefore, these psychological operations that have been occurring, not just in America, but globally, are not journalism, do not fall under censorship, and they're actually linked to military operations, particularly the ones that we have described over and over again on our show, through various reports, including our own Senate intelligence, including Mueller report, which in granular detail showed how Russians in St. Petersburg were pretending to be Black Americans or pretending to be members of the Women's March. And it was all done to destroy our trust in each other. And I keep preaching solidarity and unity, reality and truth, because our only defense against this erosion of trust, which is leading to the erosion of our institutions and the destruction of our democracy, is a very rapid acknowledgement that it occurred and a solidarity to beat it back. The countries that beat information warfare are aware of information warfare.
You can't, our problem is fundamentally that we won't recognize it as warfare, right? Come up with all these other euphemisms, but I've said, and I'm dead serious, like Vladimir Putin started World War III at least a decade ago when he started infiltrating the United States with people like Mike Flynn and Ben and all these other fucking Paul Manafort and the rest of them, right? When he started literally invading our country, hacking our politicians, brainwashing our civilians, and stealing our elections. That's war. It's war. It doesn't matter if there are bombs. It's worse, right? Every single person that voted for Trump. Okay, maybe there's if there's some small percentage who would if you actually knew the facts, but hardly anyone would if it wasn't for that, right? The fact that our entire society has been hacked by this operation, right? By this constellation. I don't want to say conspiracy, right? Because it's an agreement, right? They're not in a little room somewhere all sitting around. They're agreeing that their main target that they're going to partner up together to do is to take down the government of the United States. Why? Because it benefits all of them. It benefits all of them, whether they're a theocrat, whether they're an oligarch, whether they're a dictator. All of it relies on the power dynamic. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm distracted.
Hold on.
No.
All right. You guys have been going.
By the way,
finish.
don't fucking text me when I'm talking.
I just was like, Jim, you got to retweet the live stream.
Hey, hold on. No,
yes, high
my turn.
fidelity.
I've let
yes,
you two go on
high
for 20
fidelity.
minutes now.
Yes, high
I'm going to
fidelity.
jump in here real quick.
Yes,
look, it's very
fidelity.
fucking simple, people. Cognitive warfare is warfare.
Yeah.
Information warfare is warfare.
Yeah.
Hybrid warfare is warfare. Economic warfare is warfare. Sanctions evasion, that's part of the warfare. I don't know what I'm glad to see the Gazprom Bank finally got sanctioned. That's nice. But if it were me, I mean, we're the United fucking States, right? We are the big ammunition depot in the world. And it's about to fall into Putin's hands if we don't do something. But if I were Joe, Putin's out here like, I'm going to shoot ICBMs into Ukraine. If I were Joe, I would take, I don't know, 10, 20 of my nuclear missiles. I'd send some to Ukraine, and I'd send some to Taiwan to go, fuck you, Xi, fuck you, Putin. We know what you're doing. Enough is enough. Oh, and MBS, shut your goddamn mouth. That's what I'd do. Anyway, Joe, if you're listening.
I think the reason, again, that this does not get done is that many countries have been bribed with cheap petrol, and many, the foundation of our tech industry, a lot of our academia, et cetera, have been pumped full of Kremlin cash thieved from the Russian people. And rather than say, hey, that was a big mistake, we got to do something about it urgently. I'm the president. I have the power of a monarch now, thanks to the Supreme Court. Jim had a whole litany of things that we discussed a few weeks ago that could be done. And again, it goes back to information warfare. And I think a lot about World War II, both the run up and also what happened after the war. And propagandists were prosecuted. Those who actually, were the mouthpieces of genocidal regimes were prosecuted. And what we have now, when you watch Julia Davis's feed on, where she shows what the Russian talk shows are doing, they're just laughing at us. They're literally like, haha, we captured your politicians and your reporters and your tech people. Haha, how funny.
I mean, I'm looking today. I was just watching, Tim Pool quote tweeting Benny Johnson to put Kash fucking Patel in as FBI director. Now let's review briefly. Speaking of corruption and complicity and what the fuck, we have a giant FBI document describing in gory detail exactly how Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and a bunch of other Kremlin shitheads were getting paid up to $100,000 a video per video for Kremlin talking points, including the detail of the algorithm that the Russians were using to brainwash Americans into what they called augmented reality. Augmented reality being a different world in which they will do shit that the Russians want, right? And the DOJ, what do they do? What do they do with this enormous investigation? They charge 2 Russians who will never feel a thing. It's like getting a medal in Russia to get indicted by the fucking DOJ. And in the meantime, Benny Johnson and fucking what's his face, Tim Pool, can recommend the guy who's trying to sue me to become the FBI director. How the fuck does this happen? Again, I'm gonna the core problem is we were too scared to address Putin, to just look at him in the face. We had to wait to lose a fucking election to let them use missiles. What the fuck? And now the right wing's like, oh, you're trying to start World War III before, If we could have won this war, we could have won it domestically if we'd simply prosecuted the people who did January 6th.
Right.
Because lo and behold, it's the same people who are spreading all this fucking propaganda.
In lockstep. That's the interesting thing. They're so in lockstep.
And those are the people, the precise people who were protected for some reason by this FBI and DOJ. And at this point, you can't tell me it was anything but protection. It just was.
Yeah, and goes back to my meeting at a little diner with Dr. Hassan when I asked him about this, and he's just like, well, infiltration. He said there's a lot of Mormons, a lot of religious people. They have the same desire, the same objectives, and he's talking about in our enforcement agencies. And so we believe that, as Craig Unger taught us, when the former heads of these institutions, our top law enforcement agencies, go to work once they retire for Russian oligarchs, that might make it difficult if you're actually, one of the people within the agency thinking, do I prosecute this person who clearly is a Russian agent, or do I just move on and, try to reduce the prices on Ticketmaster? Like,
it's I'm sorry, but our justice system's fucked. And I said this, before we ran into this fucking brick wall, that, in my view, it needs to be rebuilt.
yeah.
It does. It just does.
Yeah.
It's a fucking mess. It is a 250-year-old disaster. There is no fucking way that 4 years after J6 you can't get a process. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's a broken system. That's not justice grinding slowly or any of these bullshit euphemisms. That's justice not working. It didn't work, which is why we are in this situation. And I'll tell you what, after Trump is done, we're going to have fucking 14, Eileen Cannons on the Supreme Court.
Right.
We're going to have 2/3 of the judiciary packed with MAGA, whatever. If any of that even matters, if we even ever get to some sort of other political event, and I'm not honestly sure we will. And so there is a small part of me at this point that's like, well, fucking, we're gonna have to rebuild it anyway. This thing is just, I mean, it was already teetering, and I just don't know how we fix it after this.
I had hoped that we would retain democratic governance so we could do the deep structural reforms we need. We are past that point. I have one thing to say, high five, and you go ahead. I just want to remind you guys, when we interviewed Jeff Charlotte last year, I remember he wrote the book, The Undertow. He has been documenting this for years. He was not hopeful. I remember telling him that how much I'd been thinking about that Tom Stoppard quote from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead at the ending, where the quote is, "There must have been a moment at the beginning where we could have said no, but we missed it." And Jeff said, "I would say we are past the moment where we could say no. We've lost a lot, but we're not doomed. We can't say no because it's already here, but we can go through it and we can make something good."
I mean, that's.
Hold on. Stop. We are meandering. I want to do something real fast.
Nobody's meandering. Nobody's meandering. Who's meandering?
Right.
You're just stoned, high five.
Yeah, you're meandering.
You're meandering.
That's very possible. Here's the first clip from Keir.
Great. Practical approach that Russia might take. What do you think will happen on the information warfare front? Because I think that is a big component of all of this.
It absolutely is. And of course, it's a reminder that Russia doesn't actually necessarily need to roll tanks across the border to capture a country. They can put their own people in charge of the country and therefore direct its policy and decide what it does to favor Russian interest. And we've seen that not just in the United States, but also look at what has happened, for example, in Georgia, where you don't need to rig an election if you've got a ruling party that has made sure that the election is only going to go one way anyway and is busily shutting down the opposition. If you put a pro-Russia party in power in any of these countries, that is the direction it is actually likely to go. And of course, that ties in with the promises that we've heard from Trump that now that people have voted for him a second time, they won't ever need to vote again. It's precisely the same pattern.
You'll never have to vote again.
Yeah, I mean, he also said he didn't need any votes. So,
Yeah, he did say that.
A lot.
What the fuck is going on? There are a billion things the Democrats could be fucking doing right now if any of them had the chutzpah to fucking act. They're navel gazing.
How
did we lose the election? Oh no.
No, it's our fault. It's our fault.
It's our fault.
It's our fault because we didn't message correct, right? Because Kamala was the wrong candidate, or, you know, oh, we shouldn't have had Liz Cheney, or pick whatever fucking complaint you want to make. Oh, hold on, high five. That is bullshit.
Yeah.
The reason why she didn't win is because the American people was lied to over and over again, because a fucking quarter trillionaire ran around swing states with ginormous checks.
Yeah.
How in the fuck is that allowed? How is it that our Justice Department didn't just swoop in, like, get the fuck out of here, dude? You can't do this. I'm sorry. No.
No.
Hold on. Here's my complaint. It is our fault. And you want to know why it's our fault? I'll tell you right now why it's our fault. It's our fault because on January 7th, 2021, a whole bunch of fucking people who might have been at the Willard War Room weren't in fucking handcuffs.
Mm-hmm.
That is why it's our fault.
Well,
Roger Stone, free man. Michael Flynn, free man. Donald Trump, free man.
Yeah, but it's not like the Democrats' fault. It's
Right.
not the fault of the left. It's not the fault of liberals. It is not the fault of normies, right? The fault lies, yes, with corruption, with complicity, with weakness, with fecklessness, with bureaucracy that allowed this attack to happen on our watch with no countermeasures whatsoever. No justice, no accountability, no nothing. That's what's at fault. Not everyday Americans who didn't know how to speak to their, right? The implication is that there's something wrong with us, that we did something wrong, that we're too fucking woke after all, right? That really it was something about us that you know, we made them say Latinx or something, right? People just trying to make fucking reasons up why it's actually our fault. It wasn't. Our country, as fucked up and broken as it was, would have been fine. We would have got through this. We would have had political bullshit, whatever. We would not have had this absolute catastrophe if it wasn't for these dictators across the world collaborating with people inside the United States to systematically lie us into suicide.
Snap, snap, snap. We did not acknowledge the information warfare, the invisible war. There are still people today who do not understand that we have been a target nation of information warfare for a decade, both within and without. And that explains why people believe in crazy shit. And again, we did everything we could to try to alert people, but there are still people that I talk to who say, just another 4 years, another 4 years. Somebody else who watches Morning Joe says, well, maybe it won't be so bad. Let's give Trump a chance. Somebody who knows better. And it's like we still are in such profound denial. And the person we're showing you clips from tonight, Keir Giles, he wrote 3 books, Moscow Rules, Russia's War on Everybody. He also, his latest book, Who Will Defend Europe? He told me in July that Trump was going to be reinstalled and that Americans have collective amnesia and forgot that Trump was working for Russia in the first, administration. He told me that because he just said we've just been too, disorganized. He wrote the NATO handbook. Our heads, our thinking has been just, not focused. And he explained, because of his research and awareness on how Russian information warfare works, that there are no rear areas, there are no civilians, and Americans do not understand that they have been targeted relentlessly through social media, through corporate media. The enemies own all the battlefields. And let's go on to another clip from Keir so we can get educated on what actually is being done and what can be done. seen the projected cabinet suggestions from Trump, and what does that tell you?
Well, apart from the fact that the general theme tends to be send in the clowns, it's also a top 10 list of all of the people in that orbit, in that Trump orbit, that are most under suspicion of actually working on behalf of hostile powers against the United States. So if this is not a hostile takeover of the United States and it is just a pure coincidence, it is an extraordinary one.
I love that. Yes, it's just a coincidence that all of these people love them some Vladimir Putin's more than they love America.
It's just a coincidence
It's
that
a
Russia fucked
coincidence.
with our election.
Look, I need to. I think the scariest one of all that people have still. God, there's so many scary ones, but Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Tulsi Gabbard is in like multiple cults. Seriously, the woman is not fully there at all. Literally an pro-Assad propagandist, literally a pro-Putin propagandist. Speaking of Julia Davis, has been praised repeatedly over and over by Russian state media for her obedience to the cause.
Yeah.
And this brain fucked weirdo, right, who is in a sex cult.
Yeah.
Anti-gay Hawaiian
Yeah.
sex cult.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. If you
I
didn't
know
know
you're
that,
not. I know you're not.
the guy's name is Chris Butler. Look him up. Guru. This is who she actually follows, right? And so this guy is gone, like all the other cult leaders, has gone full MAGA. And so now Tulsi Gabbard, it's hard for me to say out loud, is going to be the custodian of the entire intelligence apparatus of the United States of America. All of our secrets, all of our intelligence capabilities, all of our abilities to kill people, all of our abilities to find and hunt and torture people, all of that is going to be in the hands of a fucking idiot, a completely brainwashed cult member who we really literally have no idea what she will do because she's that crazy. Oh, also, by the way, she teaches psyops at Fort Liberty, or did up until a year ago.
Obviously, this is a coincidence, right?
Well, obviously, I keep thinking, like, is it fear with our politicians that are not mind hacked? Because I keep having visions of all of them just going to the White House and just locking arms and not allowing this to happen. Like I have visions of, like, is it all of us who have to go to the White House and lock arms and not allow this to happen? No one is coming to save America, and it sucks.
It does suck because there's not going to be anybody to go to, right? You're going to have Kash Patel or somebody like a fucking Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's entire qualifications are that Donald Trump paid her $25,000 to drop a case against Trump University in Florida.
Yeah,
that's it. That's her entire qualification. Also, she went up against gay marriage in Florida. That's her other qualification.
Grim stuff.
Absolute. The only pro about Pam Bondi is, first of all, it's not Ken Paxton, because nobody wants to look at Ken Paxton.
He's so scary.
Scary. And also, she's just a brain dead moron, like literally not smart at all. If you saw her try to be an impeachment manager, There's some clips going around. She was incapable of reading documents at all. It was like, anyway. So I would almost rather have this complete moron there than somebody like Matt Gaetz, who promised 2 senators, by the way, that he was going to arrest Fauci in the first week.
Yeah.
even some senators were like, I don't know about that, right? So we'll see, but it's all very dumb.
It's grim.
Last thing about Pam Bondi, she's also super friendly with Scientology.
Oh no.
Yes, she's got lots and lots of connections with Scientology. They raise money for her. She's in their literature. Like, Pam Bondi loves us. We love Pam Bondi. You see, it's also wonderful in Florida here.
Only the best people.
Okay, last one.
Good job.
Perfection.
Good job.
Okay, but briefly, can I talk about Pete fucking Hegseth for a second?
Oh, if you have to.
Oh, this guy.
I read the Jane Doe docs
Mr.
today.
Slippery.
Yeah. So first of all, absolute disgusting rapist who drugged a woman and raped her. What? And didn't tell anybody, by the way, that he paid off this woman. And
allegedly.
You're
beyond allegedly.
I choose to believe women. I do.
Yeah, I understand.
I just do. This woman is very fucking credible.
I don't doubt that. I'm just saying.
And so I don't, whatever. Sue me, Pete Hegseth.
Get in line. Get in line.
Get in line.
Get in line.
Anyway, but that's not the scariest part. And it's scary enough to have a misogynist who, first of all, doesn't understand at all anything about how war works, because he says women shouldn't be in combat, which there's hundreds of thousands of women in the armed forces ready for combat. What the fuck are you going to do? Just tell them all to leave? Of course you are. You just don't fucking know anything. But the worst part of this for me is that Pete Hegseth was individually and personally recommended to Donald Trump by international terrorist Eric fucking Prince. And the reason for that can be seen on Pete Hegseth's giant Christian nationalist fucking Iron Cross, like Nazi shit that he's got all over his fucking chest, along with Deus Vult, which means God wills it. Basically, he's a crusader. He is a Christo-fascist crusader who, like Eric Prince, wants to use the U.S. military to fight the Crusades in the 21st century. That's what that pick's about. It's not about pretty boy, fucking fox boy, rapist. It's not about that. It's about the fact that he is a Nazi who is ready to weaponize the most lethal force in the history of mankind against Islam or the commies or whatever the fuck is on their mind. So there's my little spiel about why we have absolutely lost our.
It just couldn't. I don't want to say it couldn't be worse, but I don't know how. So, Keir's going to tell us some countries that are actually doing some shit. And if it's not this clip, then I will reiterate what we learned from him.
Seems that the United States has been spared the kind of arson and sabotage and murder campaigns that have been ongoing across Europe. But it wouldn't take much for that to be brought home to the United States. For the time being, you can imagine that Russia will not want to embarrass Trump, but of course that is contingent on Trump actually doing what Russia wants. So let's consider a scenario where it is not just the information effects that have such a devastating impact on how America governs itself, but it actually steps up in terms of the direct attacks as well. The sabotage, the murders, the innocent civilians who are killed across the continent to make a point for Russia. That is the point at which it is too late to wake up to exactly what the challenge is. The frontline states understand this. The rest of Europe is gradually beginning to come to terms with it. But of course, this is not just a European problem. It is a global challenge, and the United States is the object of that challenge.
Well, that wasn't the happy clip that I was hoping it was going to be.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, but it's a very.
It's important.
I mean, look, we got to get real here.
Yeah, we are.
What did the Supreme Court give the president the power to do? Kill people at will, as long as it's official. As long as I am officially going after blogger whoever because they tweeted something bad, and so I'm going to have SEAL Team 6 go in there and fucking drone strike their house. Literally, nobody could do anything about that. It's legal. What in the hell do we think? Why do we think that that's not going to happen? Or that other people are going to do it and he's going to be like, oh, geez, I have no idea how that could happen on American soil. Bummer.
Yeah.
That sort of actual terrorism is in fact the next step. If there's any sort of resistance at all. And, frankly, I hope there is.
Yeah. Well, they will make examples of people. There will be academics they make examples of. There will be reporters they make examples of. This is all about instilling fear and trying to get people to step in line. And just so people understand what happened when we launched this little show is we were targeted, still are, relentlessly with stalker brigades that are coordinated. We are, continually targeted. They create these fake worlds of good versus evil. And of course, we are the quote unquote, ones that are targeted to be disparaged all the time. And what Keir is saying is that the information war will go offline, online, and we can only look to autocratic countries to see what that looks like. And I would like for us to do something to prevent this catastrophe from even happening. And once again, I defer to Jim's speech. If you haven't seen it in his Mind War Substack, there's a whole list of things that we could be demanding from our leaders now. They appear to not be addressing the urgency at hand. And Jim told me 3 years ago when we met, 3.5 years ago, norms are not going to save us. Guess what? Norms didn't save us. Jim also told me that it doesn't need to take this long when nothing above Proud Boy actually gets prosecuted for J6. Doesn't have to take this long. And you pointed out Sam Bankman-Fried, who took money from rich people, was prosecuted lickety-split. So clearly,
6 months.
Clearly, when there's a will, there's a way.
It's a very complicated case, and it just went away. One thought I just wanted to share with people that's really been bothering me is this whole peaceful transfer thing, right? Democrats are very proud of that we're going to have a peaceful transfer of power on January 20th. What we've been promised is at 12:01 on January 20th, fucking stormtroopers are going to start banging down people's doors and hauling them off to concentration camps.
Yeah.
So let me just say simply, you cannot have a peaceful transfer to state-sponsored terror and violence. That doesn't compute. If there isn't peace on both sides of the transfer, it's not peaceful. So the whole idea that we have this moral high ground because we're adhering to norms, because of the peaceful transfer that we're going to be offering the world, when we know that 60 seconds after the peaceful transfer, the violence begins. Kristallnacht begins. The shock and awe campaign to go after brown people will begin. And it won't be very fucking peaceful now, will it?
Mm-hmm.
So what really just burns me is this idea that we feel so good about ourselves, that we're not fighting back, we're not being election deniers. The goddamn Russian government and aid to Vladimir Putin, his spy aide, his national security advisor basically said that we helped Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He has, quote unquote, corresponding obligations. Now, that's the Russians accusing Donald Trump of being a fucking Russian spy. It is. That's what it is. And nothing.
Crickets.
The basic idea is, and I hear almost verbatim, well, the Russians won. How? That's not supposed to happen.
No, not in this country. Not
be in our goddamned elections.
Not in this country, not our generation, not on our watch, not for our children, not for their children. This means nothing good. We have this brief window for some big ideas and some big action. And, if you look to Ukraine, and this has always been about Ukraine, when they got stuck with their Putin puppet, they fought. And that guy had to run with 40 of his cronies and all the billions that he stole to where? Moscow, right? And who put him in power? Who groomed him to become president? Yanukovych? Paul Manafort. Same guy working pro bono for Donald Trump in 2016 to groom him for the presidency. So the parallels are so obvious to those of us who have been doing this work for a long time. I don't know what it's going to take to break through to people to understand that forget about American exceptionalism or what you think you might know. We've been hit. We've been hurt. There are no civilians in an information war. We've all been affected. And if we don't figure out a way to come together immediately to stop this ship from going over the edge, then we have failed our children and we have failed the rest of the world. Because for better or for worse, imperfect as we were the country that people came to when they were fucking fleeing the shit in their countries. I'm sorry. It's personal. I'm a daughter.
All right. Hold on.
Let me just finish. I'm a daughter of immigrants. Immigrants make good Americans. People come here for a better life. And the border that was not protected was our internet border. And I'll never understand why.
Trillions for the Department of Defense and nothing for the internet. It's kind of sick when you think about it. Hey, we have hit 1,000 people watching, so I'm just going to bring something up right quick. We have 1,000 people watching, and this right here, this is the phone number for the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C.
High five.
Call the fucking Department of Justice and ask them why they're not arresting the people who are working for Russia and about to tear our country apart, right? Let's call up Joe Biden. Let's call up the White House and be like, hey, Joe.
At least get an answer. Find out why.
Yeah, get a fucking answer. And every single person watching this, call a couple times tomorrow and be like, why aren't we arresting the Russian traitors? Why haven't you released the list of the 600 Americans taking money to spread Russian propaganda? What the fuck is going on? Why is this taking so long?
Why don't both of you give us a list of the crimes that Elon Musk has committed? Give us a list of some of the most obvious crimes.
Well, he worked with Dana Rohrabacher to get legislation passed to privatize space exploration. And as we all know, Dana Rohrabacher was Putin's favorite, whatever the fuck he was.
Talk to me about
Um,
crimes. Talk to me about fraud. Talk to me
Talk to you
about
about fraud. Oh, let's talk about fraud. Let's talk about how he pumped Dogecoin, which was a crypto alternative. That was a pump and dump scheme. Lots and lots of people lost millions of dollars.
talk to me
Let's talk
about
about
unregistered foreign agents. Talk to me about that.
unregistered foreign agents working for Russia. He cut off Starlink in the Black Sea and disabled Ukraine. Right? Ukraine was about to carry out offensive maneuvers against Russia, and he shut that shit down.
What about electoral interference? What about
Electoral interference? He was paying people millions of dollars in Pennsylvania to take his pledge, right, and sign up for the lottery. Oh, it's not really a lottery. No, they're pre-selected. No, it was a lottery. It wasn't really gambling. It was this.
Help
it was
us
that.
out. Help us out. We need crimes that Elon Musk can get picked up for now.
The manipulation of the stock price of Twitter before he bought
it. Conspiracy against the United States of America.
Thank you.
Fucking treason against the United States of America. We have to stop over fucking thinking this.
Yeah.
Literally, this dude openly, intentionally bought our town square, according to himself, in order to flip this election to Donald Trump, to exert information dominance, quote unquote, over the American population in order to influence them to do our enemies' bidding. Elon Musk is a fucking Russian colluder. He talked to Putin dozens of fucking times in the last several years, including his lieutenants, over and over again. This has been reported. What has happened here is an immigrant came to America from a Nazi country, a country that was literally full of fucking Nazis where he was from, and came over here and colluded with other Nazi immigrants, also from apartheid, to take over the United States. Peter T.
I'm still a piece of garbage.
Very good.
Well
Very
done.
good.
Well done.
Got the putt out.
Very good. Let me be so to finalize. There are three new rulers of the world now: Putin, Xi, and the PayPal mafia.
Yeah.
That's what happened here.
Yeah.
Is they fucking took over. Wait till you get to Yarvin and all of the deconstructing and all the shit that's about to go down.
Yeah.
These people are not well, and they are also not kidding around.
No.
So it's look, we failed to see that this was a war, and apparently it's going to take them showing us with violence, with repression, with all of the trickery and tactics that authoritarian governments use. It's going to take that before we wake up. I just hope it doesn't take another Holocaust before we wake up.
I'd say thank you, but reality check. Keir talked to us about countries that are taking this seriously. Poland's doing crash rearmament right now. Finland's taking this very seriously, and Finland also inoculates its people against information warfare. Let's see the final clip from Keir.
Then this is the time to actually raise a stink with your elected representatives and ask them why they are not pushing for greater defenses against the threat that everybody understands is there. And following the examples of the countries that I describe in the frontline states, the ones that have shown that it is possible to do it. Poland with its crash rearmament program, Finland with its long-standing principles of protecting civilians, protecting society when a foreign power, namely Russia, is trying to destroy them, in order to make sure that the state can continue to function and people can continue to live their lives. There are ways of doing this, and those countries show the way. It's time, well past time, for other countries west of Warsaw to emulate them.
It's well past time.
We'll be here.
Yep.
I go nowhere.
We'll be here.
Fuck all these people.
We'll be
You know,
here.
I mean, here meaning virtually here. But
Yeah,
you're
we'll be
never
here.
gonna know where we are.
Yeah, I mean.
That's called OPSEC, motherfuckers. Anyway.
I take this painting around with me to different countries just to pull people into thinking I'm in the same place.
I'm in a white, blue, gray void. What do you mean?
I wrote about the Brozillas last night because it occurred to me that we let these tech oligarchs grow bigger than our governments and grow bigger than our enforcement agencies. And what are we going to do about that? They are in our, our health, care databases. They're in our, they're everywhere. They're in our military. What are we going to do about it? It was a mistake. That was a mistake, and it's going to be up to us to figure out how to defeat them. And it starts with solidarity, reality, unity, truth. We have to have a shared narrative of truth so we know what we're fighting. It's been an invisible war. Watch all the back episodes of RadPod. Figure out how you can help people see what's going on and make America America again, as Jim said. Bring us back together.
Sounds good. What do you got, Hi-Fi?
Well,
take us out. But not too long though.
Actually, no. I'm giving the final word this evening to a young lady named of Bethany Joy, and she is from Cleveland, Ohio. And well, she's got a little song. Kind of. I think people will dig it. But here's the thing: it's not fucking over yet.
That's
Call
right.
Joe.
That's
Call
right.
the Department of Justice.
Yeah, that's right.
Rewind. I gave you his number.
We need some heroes, man. It's going to be us, yes, of course, but we need some of our leaders to really step up and help. So, yeah.
Fuck yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
But here's Bethany Joy out of Cleveland.
Walking to the edge, the history at my back says it's always been leading up to this. Whatever road we chose, we'll always walk off the cliff. Hand grenades and arrows, tear gas and the gallows. Death is a sport till the ball is in your court, but we weren't made to last with bones that break like glass. It all comes down to this. How many generations thought they made the hit list? Well, they carved that bastard's name